Hey there guys, this is the next video in my sort of how to build what you need to put in a PC, series of videos. Please check out my other ones. This one's going to be a very quick one on hard drives. I'm just going to run through the 3 different types of hard drives you can get, as well as RAID 0 and RAID 1, that are 2 methods of speeding up hard drives that you already have, or just sort of making a fast hard drive setup slightly more cheaply if you don't have the cash. So I'm going to start with standard hard drives. What you have to be really aware of is that hard drives have moving parts in. No other part of your computer has moving parts. The hard drive is the main bottleneck of the modern PC. It is responsible for most of the crashes, most of the freezes are all to do with like unfragmented hard drives and things like that. So you should always use Disk Defragmenter that comes with Windows, or Defragler that you can get from Piraform.com, to sort of try and keep your hard drive as tidy as possible. The hard drives work in a similar way to how a record player works. There's a needle and there's a disc, but in a hard drive's case there are discs, multiple. When changing between these discs, the discs have to be stopped, relocated to allow the needle to go to another disc, and then spun back up again. So as you can see, this takes actually quite a lot of time. It happens really quickly inside the hard drive, but there is still that time where you're not actually reading any information. Because of this, they can slow down the computer a hell of a lot if you don't get the right ones. So minimum I would go for is 7200 RPM. That's 72,000 turns per minute on each disk. Be aware that as you go up in size, all you're doing is adding more disks. So what this means is you've got more data spread over more disks, and it can actually slow things up even more. In general, this isn't an issue if you're just using a drive as a data drive. However, for a boot drive, you really can't afford to be putting sort of Windows on a 2 terabyte drive, because it's got so many disks that you're going to get massive slowdowns. You do not want to do that. You're better off getting your 2 terabyte disk and then a 320 gigabyte disk of the same speed and putting Windows on that. And make sure if you're going for 1 terabyte or more, you need 64 megabytes or more cache space, because else you'll see massive slowdowns. If it's over a terabyte, don't use it as a boot drive, basically, because they're made to be data drives. The next option you've got is hybrid drives that are hard disk drives with SSD storage on them. The one I recommend is the Momentus XT 750 gigabyte. It's the one I currently use, and I boot in about 5 seconds, and my general use applications that I often use are instantaneously usable, things like Google Chrome. How the hybrid drive works is it dynamically changes what it had. Basically, is a hard drive with SSD memory. So in the case of Momentus XT 750 gigabyte, it's a 750 gigabyte drive with 8 gigabytes of SSD memory that you don't get access to. Well, not manually anyway. That SSD memory is used by the hard drive to transfer things that you use incredibly often to the SSD memory to speed things up. So things like Google Chrome I use all the time, the boot files I use all the time, Steam I use all the time. So all that's on my SSD, and I can really see that in the performance I get when I start on my computer. I can instantaneously open Google Chrome, instantaneously open Steam, and things like that. So these are really, really good sort of budget solutions. I think it's about £70 at the minute to speed up your PC, and I really recommend them in terms of bridging the gap really between hard disk drives and SSDs. They're not going to be anywhere near as fast as SSDs. Don't expect that from them, but they are really good. Then you move up to SSDs. SSDs are by far the fastest hard drive on the market. They have no moving parts that helps sort of them to be the fastest things in the market. 256 gigabyte ones can be picked up between 150 and 180 pounds nowadays for a good one. And if you've got the money, go for it, because the speed is unmatched. That said, if you've currently got a slow computer and you want to speed it up, you can get 64 gigabyte SSDs for sort of 35 to 45 pounds off eBay fairly easily. These tend to normally still have manufacturer's warranty, and they will, if you just put your Windows on it and keep all your old files on your other hard drive, sorry, you'll just speed up your computer by a huge amount. Moving on from that, your options of RAID 0 and RAID 1. What RAID basically is using multiple hard drives in unison to speed up your PC in one way or another. There are like loads of kinds of RAIDs. I think there are sort of 6 or 7 kinds. I'm going to talk about RAID 0 and RAID 1 today because these are the two that apply to sort of consumers. For things like RAID 2, you really need a lot more hard drives. RAID 3, RAID 4 and RAID 5 can use 4 hard drives very happily, but RAID 0 and RAID 1 are the two that sort of keep the cost down. How RAID 0 works is you get 2 hard drives of exactly the same speed and exactly the same size, and you RAID 0 them. And what this does is basically give you, say with 500GB, two 500GB drives RAID 0, you get a 1TB drive. Half the data is written to one hard drive, half the data to the other. So you can see that it doubles the speed that you write and it doubles the speed that you can read from the hard drives. The issue with this is if one hard drive dies, you lose everything because sort of half the data is on one, half the data is on the other. You cannot recover anything. As long as you've got two good hard drives, there shouldn't be an issue. If you've got 2 cheaper hard drives, be a little bit wary of the RAID 0 option because you will lose everything. As long as you keep stuff backed up, it shouldn't be that big an issue, but that is the only downfall with RAID 0. RAID 1 increases performance by not quite as much as you're about to see. How RAID 1 works is you have 2 hard drives, again the 500GB example, but you will only get 500GB of space, even though you've got 1TB of space overall. What basically happens is these 2 hard drives are exact clones of one another. So the first hard drive is exactly the same as the second hard drive. So in terms of write speeds, nothing has increased. However, in terms of read speeds, everything is doubled because you can pull half the data from one, half the data from the other in a similar way that RAID 0 works. Another bonus to this is that if one of your hard drives dies, they're exact clones of one another, so you can just simply unplug it and boot from the single hard drive, and everything should be fine. You can also do this with SSDs, and as you can imagine, this increases speeds even more. If any of you have seen a YouTube video of an SSD booting, you'll know quite how fast they are. And to be honest, you don't really need to at the minute. If you're really sort of enthusiastic about getting the best performance, you can go ahead and RAID 0 a couple of SSDs, sorry. I should note that you need a RAID controller on your motherboard to do this, else you need to buy a PCI card that will run RAID. In general, mid to high-end motherboards have the RAID controllers on them, things like the Z77 motherboard, the Z68 motherboard, the MD990 series I think all have them. But then lower-end chipsets, I don't think the AMD 970 series has them. I know for a fact that the Intel B75 series doesn't have them. So you just have to sort of go onto the manufacturer's website and look at the features and look to see if there's a RAID controller under the features. Another good telltale sign is if you go onto downloads, you actually need to download a RAID driver before installation of your Windows operating system on a RAID system. So look for the program that is the RAID sort of driver on the downloads page, and if there's not one, then chances are your motherboard doesn't support RAID. Another thing I should mention is a lot of people still come out with sort of saying that SSDs are really unreliable and how like the NAND technology isn't really that good. This was the case about 3 or 4 years ago. It's improved massively since then. All current sort of good SSDs that come from respectable companies like Samsung or ACZ all come with at least 3-year warranty. I believe the new ACZ series comes with a 5-year manufacturer's warranty, and this is them basically saying, look, we've improved the NAND technology, there's not really need to worry about your data, just get one, like it's not an issue. So yeah, that's that. Like I say, just don't go places 7 to 200 RPM if you're going for a standard hard drive. Highly recommend the hybrid drive. Don't be afraid to go to eBay for a lot of these things, because the manufacturer's warranty will cover things bought even on eBay. So if you're buying a second-hand hard drive that's only been used for a year, chances are it's still got 2 years of warranty. So yeah, thanks for listening. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment just for suggestions for new videos, or if I've got anything wrong. I've talked pretty quick here and I might have accidentally skipped over something or said something in sort of the wrong way. So yeah, I don't really want to do that, so go ahead and correct me if needs be. Please watch my other videos. I've got a CPU one, a GPU one, and a power supply one up at the minute, and I'm hoping to do more. And yeah, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much.